The morning air in Sparewood was crisp, carrying the scent of pine and the promise of more snow, a stark contrast to the suffocating, dusty tension of New Cody. In the quiet warmth of the town's diner, the rhythmic clinking of silverware provided a backdrop to a conversation fraught with unspoken truths. While Beth, showing the friendly and industrious personality that had survived the war, diligently wiped down empty tables, Ella watched her with a mixture of pride and a gnawing sense of guilt. "He's not a happy man, is he?" Ella suggested, her eyes following the steam rising from her coffee as she spoke to Miriam. Miriam paused, her expression softening into something protective. "I wouldn't say that," she replied gently. "Elias is just very guarded and tries not to get too attached to others." "Why not?" Ella asked, her concern for the man who had risked everything to save them deepening. Miriam gestured toward Beth. "Let's just say he lost something you have." The implication hung heavy in the air. Ella realized she couldn't conceal the truth of her bond with Beth from Miriam, and she began to wonder if Elias had already deduced the nature of their relationship. "I'm just trying to protect her," Ella whispered, a confession of her desperation. "Of course you are," Miriam replied, her voice echoing the protective instincts of a parent. "And that's what Elias was doing during your trip." While the women spoke, Elias and Wesley were at the detached garage behind Wesley's house, a place that served as a silent testament to Wesley's preparedness for the next war. The garage was an arsenal, filled with the tools of a trade Elias had hoped to leave behind. "The truck won't make it to Canyon Village," Elias noted, his eyes scanning the rugged terrain of the map spread across a workbench. Wesley nodded, tossing a heavy set of keys to Elias. "Take the snowplow," he said. "It may take a little longer, but you'll get there. Come on, let's get you loaded up." The two men worked in a practiced, silent rhythm, moving weapons and crates of supplies into the back of the massive vehicle. Under the dim glow of a small lamp, they scrutinized the route. "If Sawyer is moving west as you suspect, he's going to have to go down this road to get there," Wesley pointed out. "You'll be going down the same road, so if Sawyer sees it cleared, he's going to get suspicious." "I'm planning for that," Elias replied, his voice laced with calculated seriousness. "I just hope I can get there before he does. By now, he's probably cleared the house and knows I'm not there, and if I'm not there, there's no stopping him." Wesley looked at his old friend. "I thought he just wanted you under control." "I did too," Elias admitted. "He wanted me to go into town and make building repairs in New Cody. But I think he's worried that people in the area who know me will stay clear of New Cody if I tell them it isn't safe. And if he gets his hands on Canyon Village, people around the area won't have a choice," Wesley confirmed. Recognizing that the proximity of the girls would make it difficult for Elias to focus, Wesley suggested he spend the night at a motel on the southern end of Sparewood. With a firm handshake and a rare hug, Elias thanked his old mentor for everything and headed for the motel. The motel room was sparse, a temporary sanctuary. After a long, hot shower, the kind of luxury that felt like a relic of another life, Elias stepped out and wrapped a towel around his waist. A sharp knock at the door broke the silence. He opened it to find Ella standing in the cold. "How did you find me?" he asked, holding the door open. "You'd be surprised what a good listener I am," Ella replied, walking past him to sit on the edge of the bed. "I overheard Wesley and Miriam talking." Elias, still wary and concerned for the child's safety, asked, "So how's your daughter?" The words hit Ella like a physical blow. Her composure shattered as she realized he knew the truth she had been trying so hard to hide. "How did you know?" she gasped. "A father knows just as much as a mother does," Elias said simply. "I wish that were true," Ella replied, her head hanging in shame. "I take it Beth was going to be trained to take care of the men of New Cody," Elias suggested, his voice low and dangerous. "That's why I smuggled her out," Ella confessed, the words pouring out of her. "I would never do that to my daughter." Then Elias dropped the bombshell that had been looming over their entire journey. Now for the million-dollar question. Does Sawyer know she's his daughter? Ella sat in a stunned silence, struggling to find her voice. I wanted to tell him as soon as I heard he was bringing them into New Cody. I've watched him bring in young ones before, but he didn't seem to care, and to be honest, as long as it wasn't Beth, I didn't care either. Is that how you were brought into the business? Elias asked. Ella shook her head, recounting her life in Chicago before the war. She had been a retail store manager by day and an escort by night, trying to make ends meet. She met Sawyer when he flashed enough cash to buy his way into her life, promising her an escape from her double life. Before she knew it, he had complete control over her. When the war began and he went off to build his militia, Ella had given birth and handed Beth off to her parents. When they passed away, she placed her in an orphanage, moving her constantly to keep her hidden from Sawyer's world. But you couldn't keep her hidden forever, Elias surmised. As Elias dressed, Ella began to cry, a torrent of embarrassment, humiliation, and profound gratitude. Seeing her distress, the stoic soldier softened. He knelt in front of her, his hands steady on her shoulders. Look, the important thing to remember is that your family is safe and together now. In a moment of overwhelming emotion, Ella moved in and kissed him passionately. For Elias, it was a sensation he hadn't allowed himself to feel in 5 years. Though his instinct was to pull back and maintain his guard, Ella's need to release her emotions was stronger than his need to control his. In the quiet of the motel room, they found a brief, desperate connection, making love with a passion that made Elias feel like a different man. The next morning, the bed was half empty. Ella woke to find Elias gone, his side of the bed already cold. She looked out the window to see the snowplow was no longer there. After a solitary shower, she stepped out to find Wesley waiting for her, busy replacing a battery on Elias's truck. "I had a feeling I'd find you here," Wesley said, his voice neutral. He offered to drive her back to the diner for coffee, sensing that she needed to hear the truth about the man she had spent the night with. At the diner, once Miriam had served them and moved away to tend to other customers, Wesley leaned in across the table. "I don't have to tell you that Elias was a soldier." "I figured that much out," Ella replied with a faint sarcastic smile. "What you don't know is that he was the trigger that started the war," Wesley said, the revelation hanging between them like a shroud. Ella stared at him, shocked. "What are you talking about?" Wesley explained that Elias had been given orders by an enemy spy. In carrying out those orders, the world had gone dark, and men like Sawyer had risen to power in the vacuum. Wesley had been Elias's commanding officer at the time. They had received their orders from the same man. While Wesley had been hunted and forced to run during the fighting, Elias was in a place that was untouchable. He finally returned home, only to find that the world had changed and he was dead. He came home to learn that he was proclaimed dead, killed in action, and yet there were people looking for him, Wesley recounted. He and Elias had eventually reconnected via a ham radio and met in Cheyenne, where Wesley explained the full extent of the betrayal. "What I don't understand is how he didn't know about all of this while it was going on," Ella asked, her mind reeling. Wesley declined to share the classified details of the mission, focusing instead on the personal cost. That's in the past and doesn't really matter anymore. What is important is that he gave up everything important to him when he returned, a wife and a family, all because they thought he was dead. If they ever learned that he was alive, they would be in danger too. "He's a good man," Ella whispered with profound empathy. "I bet he was a great father." Wesley's expression hardened, his voice becoming a stern warning. "Hey, you need to listen to me, and listen real hard. Elias is no longer a family man. He's an angry man who can't even take revenge on the spy who gave him his orders. He lives with that every day." He reminded Ella that Elias's only goal was getting her and her daughter to safety. "Put your faith in making a great life for Beth, not in saving Elias." As Ella looked out the diner window, she realized that Elias was already miles away, driving a snowplow toward a confrontation at Canyon Village that he didn't expect to return from. He had saved her family, but in doing so, he had remained a ghost, haunted by the very war he had unintentionally helped to ignite. And he was about to ignite a fuse that could start another one.